It started like any other Thursday evening segment on Piers Morgan Uncensored, a show that thrived on confrontation and headline-grabbing moments. The studio lights burned bright, cameras trained on two legends sharing not only a first name but an uncanny ability to command a room, Morgan Freeman and Piers Morgan. The audience expected an insightful, maybe even spiritual, discussion. Freeman's calm presence was a sharp contrast to Piers's fiery questioning style. But no one, not even the production crew, knew that this interview would unravel into one of the most talked about moments in television that year. The conversation began smoothly enough. Freeman, in his deep, steady baritone that carried decades of wisdom, spoke about his latest film and his lifelong fascination with stories that reveal the human spirit. His sentences flowed like music, deliberate and thoughtful, captivating everyone in the room. Piers, for once, seemed content to listen, smiling politely and even agreeing. But the peace wouldn't last long. "So, Morgan," Piers began after a pause, his tone shifting ever so slightly, "you've said before that talking constantly about race actually keeps it alive. Do you still believe that, especially with everything happening in America right now?" The air in the studio changed instantly. Freeman leaned forward, his eyes narrowing slightly, though his voice remained calm. "I believe we give too much power to division," he said. "If we stopped labeling ourselves by race every 5 minutes, maybe we could start seeing each other simply as people." Piers nodded, but his expression betrayed skepticism. "But isn't that a bit idealistic?" he countered. "Isn't that something you can say because you've made it? You're Morgan Freeman, a Hollywood icon. Most people don't get that luxury." Freeman's lips curved into a small, almost disappointed smile. "It's not about luxury," he said. "It's about mindset. If we keep reminding ourselves of what separates us, we'll never see what unites us." The crowd murmured quietly, sensing tension building beneath Freeman's calm tone. Piers, sensing an opportunity for a viral moment, pressed harder. "But Morgan, when you say things like that, people accuse you of minimizing the struggles others face. That kind of message can sound dismissive to those who live with discrimination every day." Freeman exhaled slowly, as though weighing his words. "I'm not dismissing anyone's pain. I'm saying you can't build a future by constantly staring into the past. There's a difference between remembering history and living inside it." For a brief second, there was silence. Even Piers hesitated, unsure whether to push further or let the wisdom sink in. But his instincts, and perhaps his ego, pushed him forward. "So, are you saying activists who speak out are doing it wrong? That fighting for justice somehow keeps us from healing?" Freeman's tone changed. His words came sharper now, though still measured. "No, I'm saying that some people fight for justice while others fight for attention. There's a difference, and too often, the loudest voices aren't the ones trying to fix anything, they're just trying to be heard." A ripple of gasps spread through the studio audience. Piers leaned back, folding his arms, a knowing smirk forming on his face. He had gotten what he wanted, a spark. "That's a pretty strong accusation, Morgan. Are you including the media in that? People like me?" Freeman's eyes locked on him. "Especially people like you," he said quietly. "You make your living out of stirring division, calling it conversation. You don't want resolution, you want reaction." The studio went completely still. Even the camera operators froze. Piers blinked, visibly thrown off but unwilling to concede. "Now, that's unfair," he said defensively. "My job is to ask tough questions. To challenge people. And my job," Freeman replied firmly, "is to tell the truth, even when it makes people uncomfortable. I came here for a discussion, not a spectacle." The tension in the air was heavy enough to taste. Piers tried to laugh it off. "Come on, Morgan, it's not a spectacle, it's just honest conversation. You can't expect to come here and not get challenged." Freeman leaned forward, his voice low and resonant. "Challenge is fine, Piers. Manipulation isn't." That line hit like thunder. The audience broke into a mix of gasps and scattered applause. Piers looked momentarily at a loss for words, something rarely seen on his show. Trying to recover, he muttered, "Well, if you feel that way." But Freeman had already begun unclipping his microphone. "I do feel that way," he said softly, his voice carrying more weight than a shout ever could. "You asked me here to talk about unity, and you've turned it into division. That's not a conversation, that's theater." Producers scrambled behind the scenes as Freeman rose from his chair. Piers leaned forward, panic flickering across his face. "Morgan, wait, we're live." But Freeman just gave a small, knowing smile. Then let them see the truth, he said, placing the microphone on the desk. He turned, straightened his jacket, and walked calmly off set as the cameras kept rolling. The audience, momentarily stunned, broke into thunderous applause as he disappeared behind the curtain. Piers sat frozen for a moment, caught between embarrassment and disbelief, before muttering awkwardly to the camera, "Well, that was unexpected." The show cut to commercial, but by then, the moment was immortalized. Morgan Freeman had just walked off live television, and within minutes, the internet would make sure the world knew every word that led up to it. The aftermath of Morgan Freeman's dramatic walk-off from Piers Morgan Uncensored spread like wildfire across the internet. Within an hour of the live broadcast ending, clips of the confrontation were flooding X, TikTok, and YouTube. The headline practically wrote itself: Morgan Freeman walks off Piers Morgan's show after heated exchange. The video amassed millions of views overnight, with countless users dissecting every facial expression, every pause, every word exchanged between the two Morgans. Freeman's calm, deliberate exit was hailed as the ultimate power move. "He didn't lose his temper, he just left," one user wrote, while another posted, "That's what grace under pressure looks like." The clip of him unclipping his mic and saying, "You don't find truth in noise," was replayed again and again, shared by celebrities, activists, and fans alike. By morning, #FreemanWalksOff had trended across multiple platforms, with fans calling it the quietest explosion in talk show history. Meanwhile, Piers Morgan, no stranger to controversy, seemed eager to capitalize on the attention. The following morning, he addressed the incident directly in a post on X. "I have immense respect for Morgan Freeman," he wrote. "But open debate is the essence of free speech. If we can't question powerful ideas, we're all just actors reading from the same script." His supporters praised him for standing firm and doing his job as a journalist. But critics were less forgiving. "You don't debate Morgan Freeman," one journalist wrote in response. "You listen to him." For nearly 2 full days, Freeman said nothing. His silence only fueled more speculation. Entertainment outlets scrambled for comments, talk shows analyzed body language, and online pundits debated who was right. Was Freeman too sensitive, or had Piers crossed a line? Had the show been staged for ratings? Each theory added to the frenzy, but no one could deny one thing: everyone was talking about it. Then, on the third morning, Freeman's representative finally issued a brief but powerful statement: "Mr. Freeman stands by his comments. He believes in conversations that heal, not those that entertain conflict." That single sentence reignited the discussion. The message was pure Freeman, poised, concise, and devastatingly clear. Fans flooded his social media pages with support, calling him a class act, a living legend, and the only man who can win an argument by walking away. Behind the scenes, however, more details began to leak. Crew members from the Uncensored production team spoke anonymously to the press. One claimed that before the interview, Freeman had specifically requested that the discussion focus on his film and broader ideas of human unity, not divisive political topics. Another insider said Freeman had been warned, off camera, that Piers intended to challenge his past comments about race. "He told them he wasn't interested in a debate," the crew member said. "He said, if this turns into a fight, I'll leave." And that's exactly what happened. The controversy quickly divided public opinion. Some defended Piers, saying a journalist's role is to push boundaries. Others argued that Freeman had exposed the manipulative nature of modern media, the way hosts provoke emotional reactions just to capture headlines. Even other celebrities joined in. Actor Denzel Washington posted a cryptic tweet: "Sometimes silence is the loudest answer." Viola Davis wrote on Instagram, "Dignity doesn't raise its voice, it simply walks away." Both posts garnered millions of likes and were widely interpreted as subtle nods to Freeman. As the week continued, clips from Freeman's past resurfaced. One from a 2012 interview showed him saying, "The way to stop racism is to stop talking about it." Now, that quote was everywhere again, framed by some as timeless wisdom and by others as outdated idealism. Television panels debated whether Freeman's philosophy was enlightened or out of touch. Late-night comedians joked that Morgan Freeman just narrated his own mic drop. And yet, amid all the noise, Freeman himself remained silent. No interviews, no clarifications, no social media posts. Friends close to the actor hinted that he had retreated to his ranch in Mississippi, far from the chaos of the spotlight. One friend told a reporter, "Morgan doesn't need to defend himself. He said what he meant, and then he left. That's who he is. Meanwhile, Piers continued his media tour, addressing the walk-off on several platforms. On one podcast, he said, "Look, I love Morgan Freeman. But I ask tough questions, that's my job. If that makes people uncomfortable, so be it." Still, even among his usual supporters, there was unease. Commentators noted how defensive he seemed. One columnist for The Guardian wrote, "For once, it wasn't the host who owned the moment, it was the guest who chose when the show ended." As the noise gradually died down, what lingered wasn't outrage but reflection. People began to quote Freeman's words online, not just the ones from that night, but from across his career. His voice, often the one narrating stories about humanity and redemption, had become the center of one more, a real-life story about restraint, self-respect, and walking away from conflict. In the end, Piers Morgan Uncensored got exactly what it wanted, attention. But Morgan Freeman got something deeper, admiration. His quiet defiance became a symbol of grace in an age of outrage. A week later, a viral meme summed it up perfectly, a photo of Freeman leaving the stage, captioned, "When wisdom meets noise, wisdom exits the room." And just like that, the story stopped being about who was right and who was wrong. It became about something simpler, a reminder that sometimes, the most powerful voice isn't the one that wins the argument. It's the one that refuses to have it.